We kill over 100,000 people a year with medication adverse events. That's around number 3, number 4 cause of death in the U.S., and it's been that way for a long, 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 long time.
What up?
Steadily evolving attitudes and opinions toward medical cannabis.
Wow, that was a mouthful. You doing okay over there?
Yeah, I'm fine. But today we do have a very special episode and a special interview. We'll be talking to Dr. Phil Roberts, who I think Manward readers should be quite familiar with. Phil has graced the pages of Manward Digest and Manward Letter numerous times. He's pretty popular. His background's amazing. Phil's kind of seen it all. He's been an ER doc, worked in private practice. He got his start as an Army doc. He's a really impressive guy and a great connection for us to have. But we're going to be kind of getting into some of the things that led him to change his mind over his multi-decade career on medical cannabis.
Yeah, we flew him up from Tennessee to have lunch with us, talk about his evolution on cannabis and what he learned in the medical community about it. And I think what's important to understand about Phil is that he genuinely cares.
Thank you for joining us, Phil. Really excited to have you on the show. This has kind of been a long time coming. We've been working together for a little while. You've been writing for Manward. It's nice to actually have an expert with decades of experience who can talk about things from the health side. Can you give a little bit of background on sort of like where you started in medicine and kind of what led you to this point?
Oh, sure. Yeah, look, it's been a joy and an honor, too. This has been such a... I'm going to reach out to Andy when he first got going, and I loved what you were doing with the Liberty Know-How connection.
You probably know this, Alex. Phil's a reader, so he reached out to me, loved what we were doing. I talked to him on 83, you can see it here, driving home one night for 45 minutes to an hour. We started talking and really had a great conversation, and that brought us here today. And so, yeah, go ahead, talk about how you got started and your evolution into that side of things.
Well, it really kind of parallels my whole development. Since 9th grade, I knew I wanted to go into medicine. Felt like that's where, the Lord had for me and everything. So I ended up eventually I wanted to go into surgery. So I did a couple years of general surgery, spent some time in the military, and then ended up grandfathered into the emergency medicine boards and did that for 27 years. So board certified there. And in ER, talking about cannabis, as you know, the Schedule I thing is all over the place, and you can go anywhere from saying, gee, why would the government get a patent on something in 2002, 2003, and then it not be able to be, it's like it gets patented for anti-aging, neuro, all kinds of cardiac things, and you're just going, why can't we have access to it? So
yeah, clearly somebody knew that it was useful for all of these different reasons, but it still wasn't available to the public.
So yeah, as you had your training, through the military before that, what sort of information and knowledge did you have about cannabis? What did you know that was being researched? What did you know that the medical community knew that you couldn't have access?
Well, I knew it was a Schedule I, Andy, so that meant if you touched it, your license was gone and you were done in medicine. So it was like, and again, for me, I was thinking, so I'm seeing people start out with marijuana, they end up going on to harder stuff, cocaine, heroin, IV, whatever, overdose, they end up coming in and they're dying or dead or found dead, and you're giving them Narcan, you're intubating them, put them in the ICU. So for me, I didn't want anything to do with it. In fact, I've never even used marijuana. But so it was always like Schedule I, you touch it, you're done, forget it.
The government said so.
And so it's just like, and I, assumed that, hey, they know more than I do, they've done more, they know more about it. It was just one of those things on my list of, it's up there with ecstasy, cocaine, and stuff like that. So you go, and I knew how bad the cocaine stuff was. People come in and their septum in their nose there's a hole in it because of snorting coke and stuff like that, and then it's like...
Yeah, well, you just used the word assume. I think that's critical to what's going on now. So many folks have been told, from the Nancy Reagan days, the war on drug, just say no, that we assume that the government's telling us this and they have our best interests in mind and that we need to stay away from it. But what we didn't know was that through all that time, there was some research going on in Israel and China. These guys have really eclipsed us on the research front. Yeah. And here's a doctor that's trying to do good things, trying to get out there and really help people. And there's a wall behind, or a wall in front of it, because the government says no.
When I hit 53 and I was working in ER, I remember thinking, man, what's wrong? Where's my concentration? Where's my stamina? What's going on with me? And I really thought I was getting early Alzheimer's. It was pretty concerning, quite frightening. And so I'd read a book, and it talked about the importance of getting your hormones tested. Got my hormone levels tested. They were low. Got them back up where they needed to be. My labs were better than they've been in 26 years. Felt better, could do more, think better. And so I was back, and I'm going, wow, this is amazing. I've got to learn more. So that led me to where I went back and got a master's in metabolic and nutrition medicine and became an advanced diplomat with the American Academy of Anti-Aging Functional Regenerative Medicine people.
So you've been involved with that. I think a lot of, it's something prior to meeting you that I wasn't extremely familiar with. A lot of people go to the doctor, their general practitioner, and they're used to what is basically conventional medicine. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between that and functional medicine?
Sure, absolutely. In conventional medicine, we're trained a pill for an ill. I can help you based on, and you see this all the time in the commercials. If you've got this symptom, go see your doctor and get this pill. Here's the sad thing. We kill over 100,000 people a year with medication adverse events. And so if you look at it, that's around number 3, number 4 cause of death in the US, and it's been that way for a long time.
Nobody talks about that.
Nobody talks about it. That's not on the list of what you see, but it should be. Now, let me quickly say, in acute care trauma medicine, the United States is way at the top, if not at the top. So you want to get shot, kicked in the head by a horse, run over by a car, this is the place to do it. So that's awesome.
That's good for you to know.
Yeah, you're on the farm, front. There, yeah, that's right. But if you look at how are we doing with chronic conditions, and especially in the older generation, type 2 diabetes, well, over 90% of the time that ought to be reversible. But are we really seeking to reverse it, or it's like, hey, I'll see you in 3 months, here's your prescription. Yeah. Oh, that's not working, don't worry, I'm gonna add another one. So we look at what they call functional medicine, alternative medicine, that type thing. There you're trained in, and that's when I went back and got the master's in metabolic and nutrition medicine, because I realized I was lacking. But I'm just going, okay, so let's put this together. Let's try to get to the root issue of why you have hypertension, or why you have Crohn's disease, or an autoimmune, Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And there we start, we go back and we go, okay, what are you eating? Because it all starts with nutrition. You know, we got this great food here. We got quinoa, we got crab cakes, we got all kinds of great stuff. You know, we got something in the lettuce family here and all this other good stuff. So it starts with what you eat. So then it's like in, out, and away. Let's put the good stuff in, which means your foods you should be eating are like, again, fruits, veggies. We learn in functional medicine that all these autoimmune diseases, for the most part, start in your gut. So when we eat these crops that have had all this stuff dumped on them, don't kid yourself, they are gonna absorb it. In functional medicine, let's get to the root problem and what can we do to reverse it? So you start with nutrition, you start with the proper nutritional supplementation, then as you get older, you check your hormones, see where you are, replace those. Everybody's got heavy metals, let's get some of those things out. So it's kind of in, out, and away. Put the good stuff in, get the bad stuff out, and keep the bad stuff away. As we age, the good stuff starts going down, so let's fill the tank back up, and all these things started improving. That began my process of thinking. It's somewhere along the line, I started hearing about cannabis and the good things that it could do. Anti-aging, they started talking about, well, glaucoma, research, then you start hearing about all these other things. Pain, decreased anxiety, people are sleeping better, although cannabis doesn't really help you sleep better, it decreases the anxiety. And then I'm going, this is crazy. Now they've got studies, they're talking about 61% improvement with autism spectrum disorder kids. Amazing, Tourette's.
Yeah. So from the medical side, how do you see a practicing doctor today? What are his thoughts on prescribing cannabis, even talking to a patient about it? Have we crossed the border yet and saying, now it's something acceptable to talk about? Is it still, whispers in the back room? What are the thoughts that go through a doctor's head?
It's a great question. I think in my education, kind of self-education on the thing, it's like, I think more and more physicians and it depends on what state you're in too. So then it's not a Fed thing yet, although you look at the Cole Amendment 2014, the Farm Bill 2018, anybody just said, boom, CBD's good now, and everybody just ran. A lot of people just ran with it.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't, but depending on if you're in a fully legalized state, medically or whatever, I think most physicians have not had in states that are not like that. I think there are 11 states now that are recreational besides Washington, D.C. I think the education is really lacking. And again, I think it depends on the individual and what they've been through. And it's like typically you come in, you got pain. It's not, hey, well, why don't you try some CBD? It's like, here, I'm gonna put you on a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. Sure. And so if we can give them something that's safer, healthier, and again, you know, if you're watching this and you're on a blood thinner or SSRI, an antidepressant, you really need to work with your physician because those things, CBD has been shown to affect those. But it's like pain, insomnia, anxiety. CBD addresses those. This is crazy. Glioblastoma multiforme, the #1 cause of brain cancer. They're now working on CBD derivatives, which will become drugs, to treat this just with CBD. And they're like 140 different cannabinoids. Yeah. CBD is not addicting. It's not hallucinatory. It's very, very safe. It's just been labeled not good to use. So now that we've cleared that up and we know, I can't wait to see the data that comes out of this and all the people that get better. Kids with Tourette's, autism, all this other stuff. I mean, now we're up to 1 in 59 kids that have autism. I mean, you talk about a disaster. When I was growing up, it was 1 in 5 or 10,000. And so it's like, how can we put good stuff back in to help kids, help people, help older folks instead of having to put them on Ambien or other things that can cause all kinds of crazy side effects? They can take CBD at night, or they can take it for their arthritis. They can take other things. So I think the sky's the limit, and it's going to be amazing what comes out of it.
You had in Manward Digest, you wrote an essay that really touched a lot of our readers, talking about a specific night that kind of turned you around on your thoughts on medical cannabis, and how you were experiencing a lot of folks coming into the ER overdosing on painkillers. Can you talk a little bit about that experience in the ER and how it kind of helped get you to where you are?
Yeah, well, I worked at a smaller city in rural Kentucky in the Appalachian foothills. And there were multiple pill mills around there. And I remember the first week in January was very, sorry. It just really bothered me. People came in, I mean, that week I would typically go up and work Monday through Friday and work a 12-hour shift. But every day I had 1 or 2 people come in that were overdosed. And there were people that were found dead in parking lots and other places like that. But again, someone comes in, and it was actually one of my favorite things to treat because you're going to stabilize them, you're going to intubate them, you're going to help get things squared away and see where they are, and then get them upstairs. But I remember calling the Kentucky Medical Board and just saying, hey, you got to help me, because they were just killing so many people, and it was a real tragedy. So yeah, so I see this though as a tool where people don't have to lose mothers, fathers, sons, daughters from narcotics, and it's like, we were taught, and good grief, Oklahoma just awarded $476 million judgment. I shouldn't say Oklahoma. Oklahoma got a judgment for $476 million against a pharmaceutical company. I remember they had these 1 through 10 scales. It came in and it's like, you want your patient to be happy, i.e., and we're going to get a survey, Press Ganey survey of the patients that come to the ER. And I'm going, I'm just thinking in my head, how stupid is that? Right. Okay, you didn't give me more narcotics, I'm going to give you a bad evaluation. And it's like, we don't want anybody in pain. And so more and more narcotics. And what we're doing, and we all know, OxyContin is very close in chemical nature to heroin. So, and when Oxy got too expensive and you couldn't steal it, whatever, they're going to go shoot up heroin. And then they come in, and it's just, anyway, this is a great opportunity to help turn this thing around. And so I'm thrilled about that. But that was very memorable.
Yeah. Well, I say we get some CBD infused ice cream, get some dessert, and get out of here.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you again for joining us. This has been a pleasure, as always.
Joy for me.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
All right.
So I think we learned a lot from Dr. Phil Roberts today. So if you know somebody that could use this information, feel free to share it with them. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and leave your comments below.